I mean, in general, it was a good season. We fell away a bit at the end, and that was kind of disappointing in the way it finished. But we'd done really well Christmas time, early New Year. Went on a bit of a bad run, and then obviously lost Darius, who was, arguably one of, if not the best sort of striker alongside Tunde in the league. So I think that hit us hard and took us a little while to get going again. And I felt we were just beginning to turn a corner, and then obviously the end of the season was cut short. So um, in general, good, could have been better probably, but I think probably like most managers and teams, we'll never know now. I mean, we've tried to bring in a younger player. I know there's been a little bit of talk about on the age of them, but a lot of the boys are sort of 20 to 25. We've managed to keep, some of the older players from last year in terms of Chris Holroyd and Steve O'Halloran, and we've intentionally gone for the younger players because we want that fitness and energy to play with a bit more energy, play a bit more technical football, and try and play a bit more football. And the young players are, they've been great so far in terms of the sessions we've had. In terms of they turn up, they're hungry to learn, they want to learn, they want to improve in the game and climb the ladder, and they've got that appetite, and it's good to coach and it's enjoyable. And we've intentionally sort of brought that kind of group in that maybe got a point to prove. Hopefully it works for us. I think it will do, and that's the road we've gone down. In terms of budget, I guess we're on sort of the same sort of budget as usual. That could be affected further with COVID, and we had to think outside the box. We're not in a position to sign, a lot of big names like some of the bigger clubs in this league. So we have to think a little bit differently, and part of that was bringing in a younger, sort of hungrier type of player. No, I believe if you're good enough, you're old enough. I really do. I see sometimes players play with. I mean, Adam O'Reilly last season on loan's a good example. He played with as much maturity as our senior players at times during good games and bad games, and when the backs were to the wall. He showed great maturity. So if you're good enough, you're old enough. I think it depends on the individual. We've brought in a couple of young players. They won't all work, but some will. Like I said, it's nice to have that energy from younger players. That sort of, they play with freedom, and the shackles are off a little bit. They're quite confident lads, and they play with no fear, kind of thing. But um, they're not as young as you think. We've got a couple of 18-year-olds and a 19, but of the lads we've brought back, Steve's 32, 33, Chris Holroyd the same age, John Ustabasi's 27, Chris L's 25, the goalkeeper Tom is 25, Kyle Hawley's 20, which in my, we've played some non-league football the last couple of seasons on loan. Callum Mantak, 23, 24, Brad Knox, 22. There's a lot of boys between sort of 20, 21 and 25, 26, and I don't class that as young players. I think 16, 17, 18 maybe, but we've only got, I think there's Anthony, Tyler, and now young Tom from Sheffield Way that are that age. There's Mike Burke as well, who's 23, 24. So I haven't got the average age off the top of my head, but I bet it's coming out something in the mid-20s. Like I said, there's a lot of technical players in there. We've tried to bring in like fit players, because whichever way, we mark the pitch out at home, it always seems to play bigger than what it is. I don't think Pete's lying about the sort of measurements, but from the couple of years I've been here, and I watched a lot of the games from the year before me with Steve Burr, and for whatever reason on both all games seem to get stretched, and it plays a big pitch. So we were conscious of having people with legs that could defend 2v2, 3v3, and just flip that on its head up in the attacking third as well. People with good legs that can get at people and be quite dynamic and get at teams more. So we've got a fitter group of players. No disrespect to last year, just we have a fitter group of players, and we've got a bigger pre-season to get them as fit as we possibly can than usual. And a lot more technical players, which means we'll have to be brave and play a little bit more football. But we wanted to do that. We had a good think when the season finished earlier about how to approach it, and we're keen to play a bit more football, get our teams a little bit more, get a few more bodies forward. And I felt at times we were a bit reliant on Darius last season and Big Hobbo as well. And Hobbo missed, a few games with injury, and we looked a bit short when he wasn't. So we want to try and have several attacking threats, whilst obviously making sure we're pretty tough at the back. And we also want that spine of non-league, which you need, because there'll be physical tests as well. I think so. I think, the first season especially, and, we needed to stay in the league. It'd been a bit of a free fall for the club. There's an awful lot going on off the field. Last year I felt was a step forward. I know we had a bad run, but with those 9 or 10 games left, we'll never know. I'd like to have think we'd have a top 10. I think we would have had a top 10 finish, which would have been a step forward. And hopefully now signing the sort of 2-year deal, and with the exaggerated break, it gives us, 2 years to build a good young team that hopefully can get really close to the playoffs this year and be even stronger again the year after if we can keep hold of all of them. And that's kind of the plan. There's a little bit of a longer term plan in place now, and to build a good young exciting team. There's some homegrown boys knocking about as well, like Mike Burke. So the fans should take comfort from that. So we're really looking forward to it. We think we can get closer, but as we know, there's some big spending teams in the league, and like I've said in the previous 2 years, we have to be a little bit creative in how we try to conquer that top 5 or 6.